25 mistakes you need to avoid in Overwatch. Let's go. Number 1. Not using cooldowns. When you're not using your cooldowns, you're not playing as proactive as you can be. And being proactive is key to winning in Overwatch. You need to consistently use your cooldowns every time you have them and try to get maximum value out of them. Number 2. Not rotating. When you stand in the same place for too long, not only you are being predictable, but you're also very easy to kill. Think that you're playing against a Widow. If you stand in the same place, you're basically giving her infinite chances to shoot you in the head. But if you're constantly moving around positions that are proactive, the Widow will never know where you're at and she will never know what to expect. So it will be very hard to kill you and it will be very hard to avoid your damage. Number 3. Sitting on the objective. When you constantly sit on the payload, you subconsciously believe that you're the worst player on the team and you cannot get more value than your teammates. You need to constantly believe that you can squeeze every ounce of value instead of sitting on the objective. Now, I'm not saying there are no scenarios that would be on the objective. I'm saying that when the fight is over, you don't want just to sit on the payload. You should already be thinking about the initiative, being proactive. Number 4. Hiding. When you're constantly hiding, you're not providing as much value as you could. There's a time and a place to hide. When you're setting up and you want to assassinate someone on Tracer or Kiriko. When you're taking damage and you want to use cover for a second or two. But outside of that, there's no reason to be hiding. You need to be proactive. You need to find angles. You need to find value. You need to find damage. When you're constantly hiding, what you're basically saying, I'm scared, team, please carry me. Number 5, you're playing too far forward. When you're playing forward, it's easier to find damage, but the problem is that you're extremely vulnerable and you will end up dying more often than not. And even if you don't die, you will require so many resources to just live and it will put you out of commission for a while because you'll need to be hiding. 6, you're playing too far back. It's safe, you're probably not going to die, but you're not really contributing to the fight as much as you think you do. You need to find the exact distance that you can get away with not dying, but still having a very reliable and consistent damage output. 7, only shooting the tank. This is very tempting because your damage number increases when you damage the tank, and you've probably heard it before. What are you guys doing? I have 20k damage as soldier. You guys are so bad. But realistically, all they've been doing is shooting a 45 erase at the entire game. You're not actually contributing as much as you think you do, because having high damage by constantly shooting the tank doesn't win you any games. So what do you need to do? You need to switch your target priority to whoever is low HP, whoever is isolated, whoever is killable. Number 8, you're turning away from the enemies. What do I mean by that? You probably see this time after time again in your own gameplay. Every time the enemies are pushing them, they start turning their head away because they think that the 10% speed boost is somehow going to help them to survive. No. What is going to help you survive is shooting back, because if they take damage, they're much more likely to disengage or simply die. Always shoot back while running away. Number 9, jumping. There's really not much to add here. Jumping is very predictable movement. You cannot change your direction mid-air, which makes it so much easier to kill you. Number 10, counterpicking. Might be a shocker to some of you, but counterpicking doesn't teach you how to play your hero. If every time you're faced with adversity and you're finding it hard to play your character and you swap, you basically are throwing away your best learning experience. Yeah, you might be swapping and it could be a better pick on paper, but you might not be able to play the hero that you want to counterpick. 11. No damage before the fight. When the fight is over, you should always advance forward in order to seek any damage you can do before the fight begins. You gain ult charge. You waste enemies' resources. You might even get a pick. You waste the enemy's time. You don't let them sit in the positions they want to be set at. You giving them a little bit of ult charge is not a reason to not do damage before the fight, because the value to be found from doing damage before the fight simply outweighs the negatives. Number 12, your primary and alternate fire usage. Depending on your hero, you should be alternating between your primary fire and alternate fire. On Ana, for example, I see players using their unscoped shots on enemies that are really far away. And when people are up close, they open their scope and make themselves an easy target. Or with Zen, where people consistently charge right click, because if they're charging up a right click, they're obviously hiding. And you will do double the damage over time when you're using your left click than your right click. Your primary fire and your alternate fire have completely different roles and should be used based on the situation. Number 13, engaging too early. When you engage too early, The enemies can easily react to it. You'll know that you're engaging too early when every single one of the enemies is turned around and don't get punished from it. If the enemies are turning around to deal with you, your teammate should be shooting at them. But if you're doing it too early, obviously your team cannot capitalize on a distraction. So naturally, you will find less value, you're more likely to feed. So what should you do? Wait until your team is engaging the enemies, and then you pop from your off angle or your engagement. Busy enemies are killable enemies. Number 14, you're engaging too late. The problem with engaging too late is that you're already starting at a disadvantage. One of your teammates might be dead, some of them could be low HP, you're low on resources. It makes it really hard to make a comeback. So you have to make sure once your team is in, you're in. If you do it too early, it's a problem, but if you do it too late, it is also a problem. 15, you're asking players to swap. Focus on what you can control instead of what you cannot control. You might think you know what the best pick is for the situation, but as we established, a player might not feel comfortable playing that hero, or they simply don't want to. You need to focus what you can be doing better. That's the only mentality you should have in order to improve. Number 16, thinking you're better. This might be harsh to some of you. The cold hard truth is that you are the same rank as your teammates and the enemies. You don't know better than them. If you would be better, your rank would be higher. So focus on yourself, do not focus on what your teammates are doing, and stop trying to give them advice, because you do not know better. 17, arguing with players.
Like, yo, oh my god, Zen, stop being a f***ing mongrel dog, please. It's not hard.
Who's the guy on the ball, bro? I'm getting flanked by a Tracer and the Soldier.
Just don't be brain dead for more than 2 seconds, we win the game. Stop anything.
Oh, we lost.
No
Wow.
way, Zen, what the f are you doing?
This is an insane 2-for-1 combo of what I won't love. Bro, you told me you were good with it then,
Dude, did you say you were good with this guy?
Yes, bro,
Why
he's
is he
good with
ego
this then,
dueling
bro.
a f***ing Tracer every f***ing fight? What?
Y'all have yourselves a good game, yeah? Take care.
Like I have established, you don't know much better. So why would you even argue with them? Nothing good comes out of this. It puts everybody in a bad mood. It puts your mind in a non-productive mindset, and you stop focusing on your own gameplay. Just drop the arguing, mute, block, leave chats, and focus on what you can be doing better in order to win. And if you can't win, it doesn't matter, because the answer will always lie in what could have I done better. Number 18, being glued to your tank. When you constantly follow your tank, you're limited by his ability to recognize good positioning. So if he goes to a good position, you will be in a good position. You might even expose his good position because there are too many people there. And if he's in a bad position, you're also, by nature, going to be in a bad position. You need to start off-angling and flanking more often than you do. Off-angling is almost a must 90% of the time, and flanks are situational, but don't be afraid to experiment. Number 19, you're not close to cover. When you find yourself in open spaces, what ends up happening is that you're taking too much damage. In order for you to maximize your uptime and do damage without dying, you need to always be close to cover when the enemies are threatening you. When a Widow is looking at you, the last place you want to be at is an open space. You need to be within half a second reach of cover. If somebody's shooting, you need to go around something to take the damage for you. It could be a wall, it could be a payload, it could be a lamp, it could be a trash can, it doesn't matter what it is. You cannot find yourself in open spaces when the situation gets dangerous. If there's no danger, you can be wherever you want to be. Somebody looks at you, you feel like they can kill you, next to cover immediately. Number 20, you're holding onto your ultimate. I've seen so many players that use their ultimates once every 3 to 4 minutes when it takes them 1 minute to use it. The more ultimates you're using, the more likely you are to hit them, the more likely you are to gain an advantage from it. Every time you have your ultimate and the teamfight begins, use your ultimate. Don't think about some combo. Don't think I need to save it. Don't think I need to counter their ultimate with my ultimate. You need to think, I want to create an advantage, and I'll create an advantage with my ultimate. Be proactive, don't be reactive. Number 21, not playing within the effective range. Effective range is basically where you can do the maximum damage while being safe. A lot of heroes have damage fall off. The further away you are, the less damage you will do. For example, with Cassidy, You want to be playing within a range where you can do maximum damage, but you're still not close enough to die. So if somebody were to chase you like a Reinhardt, he would not be able to swing on you with the hammer. If the Roadhog wanted to hook you, he'll not be able to reach you with his hook. If they play Rush, for example, you need to create a little bit more distance. If they play Dive, for example, you need to create a little bit more distance. But if they play somewhat of a stationary comp, you can be closer than you usually would. 22. Aim trainers. Shooting balloons doesn't help you 1v1 a Tracer. Knowing what positions, what angle, what cooldowns to use, how to approach the 1v1 is much more important than your aim. And even if you wanted to improve your aim, why would you go to an external software to shoot yellow balloons if you could just log into the game and shoot the characters that you're trying to practice eliminating? The best game time that you can invest is in the game, not outside of it. Number 23, crowd spamming. When you crowd spam, you think you're being evasive, but really you're being very, very predictable because you're slowing yourself down. And even if we were to look at it more psychologically, it puts you in a very anxious state when you constantly click your buttons and you don't have precision behind your movement. Be more precise. Every movement should be with precision. Number 24, mindlessly queuing. Grinding on autopilot gets you nowhere. 2 hours of effective practice and really looking at your mistakes and the good plays that you have made and having intention behind every action is way better than sitting for 10 hours and not thinking about what you're supposed to work on. You need to be aware of your mistakes and need to be aware of solutions that you want to try in order to fix those mistakes. Take accountability and improve upon them. Which leads me to the final point, which is arguably the biggest mistake that you make. You're too afraid to make mistakes. Making mistakes is the biggest part of learning. If you don't make mistakes, you don't learn. Most players play in a very passive way, but you have to understand, when you take zero risk, you get zero reward. And you have to find the balance between having the lowest amount of risk, highest amount of reward. The alternative, of course, is to do nothing, where you stay stagnant. That's why you have players who've been playing for 6 years and have not moved from medal ranks. And in my opinion, it is the worst outcome. So whether your risk works or it doesn't, there's something to learn. And that's how you get better. That is it for the video. Remember, don't just watch videos and think you know everything. Go in game, practice, make the mistakes, learn from the mistakes, and then you'll truly improve. Take care, everyone.